Hello, welcome to another GoldMine 101, our regular series, or fairly regular series of short presentations giving you hints and tips for getting the most out of GoldMine CRM. And in this one, I'm going to cover a little intro, a little introduction into a powerful feature of automated processes, a powerful feature of GoldMine called automated processes, which you may not be using right now, but hopefully after this event, it will encourage you to dip your toe and try them out. So automated processes in GoldMine CRM are, well, think of them like a predefined sequence of steps or actions that execute automatically based on a certain trigger or a condition. So something happens in your GoldMine system and some action will take place automatically for you. And they're really going to help streamline workflows or processes just to ensure a kind of consistent approach to activities that you do. The key benefits of using it is, first of all, you're going to save time. So have you got lots of repetitive tasks in your business that maybe could be automated in this way? It will improve consistency of your approach to make sure that you do the same thing to the same people at that particular time in the process. It could help with improved follow-up of sales activities, so nothing falls through the cracks. So you make sure that you chase your quotes, you follow up on sales calls, meetings, and so on. It can improve customer service because of those timely responses and actions to the right person. Doing the right thing to the right type of client at the right time, and overall reducing human error because it's going on in the background. We don't need to do things manually. GoldMine is just going to once it's correctly set up, and that's what we're going to cover in this session. Once it's correctly set up, you can just leave it, and it will do its thing. So think of it like a free sales administrator in your GoldMine system, working 24/7, looking, monitoring, scanning, looking for things to do and update. There are quite a few example uses I can give you just to get you thinking about how it might be implemented in your business. First of all, a new sales inquiry. So what happens when you get a new inquiry via the web or a phone call or an email? Just think about the steps that you go through and the way that you allocate. You've got a number of salespeople. How do you allocate that to a salesperson? What is the first step that you would do to that new inquiry? Is it a thank you email, or someone phones them, or a visit is arranged? You know, there can be different. There could be different new inquiry processes for different products or different types of customers. A long sales cycle. Do you have prospects that take maybe many months to come up with a decision on your product or service? So isn't it a good idea to have something in the background that's continually contacting them, just giving them different snippets of information, or every now and again we're being prompted by the system to phone them just to see how things are going on. A sales follow-up. So you've made a sale. What happens when you get a sale, and following that up with a customer service call, maybe asking for referrals. If referrals is a big thing in your business, think about how that can be automated, and you can make sure that when you get a sale, the right things are going to happen. Maybe you've got contracts or maintenance renewals. Again, maybe a repetitive task has to be done on a particular time of the year, or when, maybe 30 days before a contract renews or expires. You want to make sure that you're getting in there with the appropriate paperwork, email notification, phone call, and so on, to make sure that those renewals are done. So there's loads of possibilities. So in this session, I'm going to go through the basics of creating a process, okay? And this is going to be part one of a two-part event. In the next event, soon, I will show you how to, once you create the automated process, how you get them to do their stuff. So there's three parts to an automated process. Step one, create the thing. That's what we're going to cover in this session. Step 2, how do you attach it to a customer record or customer records, plural? And step 3, the actual running of the process as well. We've got a few options there. So in the next session, I'll cover the attachment and the processing of these APs, automated processes. I should introduce myself. So hello, I'm Tim Wilmot. My company, Wizard Systems, we're a specialist CRM solutions provider who help out small and mid-sized organizations improve their sales productivity, marketing, and customer service through the use of simple and affordable solutions like GoldMine. Now, the audio part of this call is one way only. If you're on here live, if you've got any questions about automated processes or anything I go on about, please pop those into the question box on your meeting control panel. I'll do my best to answer that at the end. Probably best to type them in as you think of them rather than wait to the very end. And also at the end, I'll give you an update on any GoldMine news we've got for you as of late October 2024. Just a brief mention about Wizard Systems then, for those of you that may be new to us. We've been providing CRM solutions for a long, long time now, long association with GoldMine CRM. As a leading CRM solutions provider, we actually do offer a number of different CRM systems, not just GoldMine. We're not a one product company. And the key benefit of dealing with us as a multi-solution provider, multi-solution CRM supplier, is the ability to, everyone's got different requirements. So we can match the right system to you based on your needs and your requirements. But as regards GoldMine, we are a one-stop shop. We can provide any service around GoldMine you need. Just call us for more information. Right, let's get into a simple automated process then. And the example I'm going to take you through, let's imagine we want a very simple sales process of emailing a customer for whatever reason, and then we want to phone them. So this is going to be a 3-step process. First of all, we're going to send out an initial email. Then after some elapsed period of time, a few days, we're going to send out email number 2. All right. And then step number 3, we're going to phone them, a physical phone call. As of course, you'll be familiar with these activity types that you can use, track, and create in GoldMine. And also, as I go through, it will allow me to touch on, honestly, the loads of options, the loads of choices that you've got when setting up a process. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to my tools menu, and there we are, automated processes there, and down to manage processes. That's where we see the automated process center, where we see all of the processes that we've created previously. And basically, all of these processes will consist of one or many events. And these events will have a trigger condition and then an action. And when the trigger condition is met, an automated process is happy, then the action will take place. Right, this will become a little bit clearer when I go through and create a brand new process for you. So I could right click here, create new process. I'm just going to click on this little icon here to create a brand new process. First of all, we want to give it a meaningful name so that we can recognize it in menus, and any other colleague that uses this process will sort of understand what it's aiming to do, what it's actually doing. So I'm just going to call it emails and a call, something like that. We can also give it a code, a 3-letter code, which will appear in this menu here. Just helps it appear in a sort of nice alphabetical order. So I will put email and call, something like that. We can assign an owner as well. Click next. Right. These are some important options here as regards this process. First of all, will you allow only one attachment to this process per contact? That's preventing you accidentally putting a couple of processes, for whatever reason, putting the same process on the same contact record. Obviously not a good idea. Next thing, execute this process immediately on attachment. So I will touch on this. on our next event, but basically as soon as I attach this process to a record, bang, it's gonna trigger automatically. Whatever's in there is going to start looking for things to do. The other option is execute this process only when scanning a group contact. Again, that will become clear on the next call. Restart this process when it ends. Maybe it's a sequence of events, step 1, step 2, step 3. Maybe you want it to sort of loop. So when we finish the last step, we want to go back to step number 1 again for whatever reason. That could be quite useful on that long-term prospect sales process. So you're doing a number of things over a few months, and then still they're a prospect, they still haven't bought yet. So you go back to number 1. Do you want to allow your colleagues to attach this process? Yes or no? That's the default option there. And lastly, attach this process to new contact records. So when you get a new inquiry, you enter a new record, you import a record, it comes in via a link to your web forms, and this can only be done to the one process in your system. Then this particular process will start in motion immediately on that new contact record. Right, assuming we're happy with all those, this is the key thing now. The one or many events that we set up. So new, this is our first event. So event description, send out email 1. Just something descriptive. It's not actually doing anything, it's just cosmetic. It's just kind of describing what this event is going to do. Over on the right-hand side, don't worry too much about this at this point in time, but when you get into automated processes, we've got sequential events, one happening after another. Think of it like a program, line 100, line 101, line 102, and so on. And then there's preemptive events. So these are things that GoldMine will check every time you run this process. These are events, preemptive events, that it'll check just to make sure that this process is valid for this customer. Maybe they've unsubscribed, all right? So you shouldn't email them. So an example of a preemptive event would be monitor this record, check to see if this person has unsubscribed, all right? So you can have quite a few different preemptive events just to make sure we're on the right tracks here. Now, trigger. What do you want to happen? What is the trigger condition that this email is going to be sent on? Well, in this example, I'm going to select immediate, but we've got a number of different options here. We've got elapsed days. So basically, X number of days after the last event, then this event will try to trigger. We've got detail records. So you may be familiar with those, where you can track maybe information on products or hobbies or other sort of profiling information against that contact. History. Something has happened in history. Maybe a sale was made. Maybe a meeting was completed. That could be the trigger. You've got options also in there for selecting how far back do you go in time in history to check that this thing was done. Maybe after 30 days, you're not so interested in whether that history activity was done and something else afresh should be done. Quite a useful trigger condition. Scheduled activity. So looking at the pending tab in GoldMine, is there a sale due? Is there a meeting due? Maybe if there's some kind of sales activity coming up, we shouldn't be emailing them. Maybe not a good idea. So that's the trigger there. Opportunity, I'll just run through these. Opportunities, you may be familiar with sales forecasting, projects, some information about a project record. Debase condition, well, that's quite an advanced option there, and don't worry about disabled at this stage. So loads of options there to consider. I'm going to select immediate in this example. So immediately, when this process is attached to a record, step number 1 is immediately going to happen. What do you want to happen? This is the action section here. And again, loads of options on that drop-down menu. Print form is the link to Word, essentially. All right. So if you are still using creating Word templates from GoldMine, then that's it there to create a letter. Email message, going to come back to that shortly. Print report, maybe you want reports to go out to some recipient automatically. That could be quite useful there. Schedule an activity. So I schedule a phone call, I schedule a meeting, I schedule an action for someone in a certain number of days' time. Create a history, create a detail record, add them to a group of members. So we add them to some mailing list or some special group for some other step or process. Update a field in the database could be useful to indicate, give you a visual indication that something has been done. Remove process, again, that would be clear when you get into APs in a bit more detail. Add new process. This is where we can spring off. We branch off into another event. So maybe, for example, we're monitoring a record and then we find out that, well, actually, there could be a prospect for product X. And we've got a process for product X of a number of different steps. So that's where, rather than making it too complicated to have all of those things going on in one process, we branch off into this other process. Just keeps it a little bit nice and tidier. Branch to event, run application. You may know that you can run applications, other apps from within GoldMine, and then create cases if you're using cases or support tickets in GoldMine. So I'm going to select email message. So immediate, trigger on immediate. I want to send out an email. What email do I want to send out? This is where I'm browsing. So I'm imagining here that the email template has been created. Hopefully you're familiar with the email template feature of GoldMine. We have covered this on a number of different 101s in the past. A nice way to send out a tailored, personalized email. Could be rich text, could be HTML to that contact. Click on the template drop-down list, and I can select my template from there. Got different options on merge. Do I want to file it in history? Click OK. Basically, that's job done on event number 1. And there it is there. So 100 is the kind of sequence number. Send out an email, triggers immediate, and the action is email. Right, step number 2. Again, a little description, email to, and trigger on elapsed days. So let's say, so they've had email number 1. How long should we leave it before we send them email number 2? And that's where you can determine the number of days. I'll leave it at 5, but you can obviously up that or down that number as you want to. Just as we did with event number 1, we click on the drop-down list, we select email message, go to options, click on the drop-down list of templates, and we select another email template, click OK, click OK. There we are, event number 2. My example, event number 3, so this customer prospect has had these 2 emails. Now we're going to phone them. All right. So click on new and intro phone call. Again, elapsed number of days. Let's leave it at 5. So 5 days after the email number 2, this is what's going to happen. And we are going to schedule an activity. Click on the options. Remember to click on the options. Now there's quite a few choices here. So first of all, what type of activity do you want to create? What type of activity do you want to schedule? This is going to be a phone call, a callback. Next, a user. If you're not working on your own, you've got a bunch of GoldMine users. Of course, the activity must go to an assigned user. That could be the record owner. You might be familiar with the record ownership featuring in GoldMine. So that's where you are physically assigning an owner to a record for security or ownership. We can assign a user. The attaching user is the person that attaches this process to the record. The logged user, the current logged on user, or user from a particular field in the contact database. So I could choose assigned user, click on the activity details. That's where my assigned user is going to be picked up from. What is going to be the reference or the subject of this phone call? Obviously, you can type that in there. You can type in loads of notes. You can create your activity code as well. Click on schedule. That's all you need to do. All right. Click OK. And that's it. That's event number 3. We've created our first little process of 3 little steps there. Click next, click finish, job done. Now, that was the process created. You have to then attach it to a record and process it. There will also be a phase of testing that process as well. Nothing beats giving it a little bit of a test internally just to make sure it works okay against a test record. So it might be a good idea if you are emailing, if you are using automated process for sending out emails, create a test record in your GoldMine system with one of your own email addresses, an internal email address against that contact, just to make sure these events are triggering as expected. Right, so on the next event, coming soon, we will cover the attachment of the process to one or many records and the actual running of those processes as well. Okay, so if there's any question just before I wrap things up and give you a quick update of any GoldMine news, if you've got any questions on this, please, I'd be happy to answer those. Looks like there's a few that have come in. Question from Evelyn. I understand we can trigger automated processes based on field changes, but can we set up an automated process that triggers when a specific amount of time has passed without any activity on an account? For example, if we haven't contacted the customer in 60 days, question mark. Well, that would be exactly what the trigger condition would look at. So that would be, so yes, you can trigger on field changes, but you can also trigger on history. So when you go into history, there is a number there representing the number of days to go back. So yours will be, I'm trying to think now, it might be either plus 60, is it 60 days? Yeah. So yours will be, when you go to history, I think it will be plus 60, something like that. So it will go back 60 days. And if there's something in history that's been completed within 60 days, GoldMine will ignore the triggering of an action, the triggering of a phone call. If, however, the last phone call was, or the last meeting, or whatever the activity is, was 61 days ago, then the event will be triggered. So yes, you can do that. Grant, if I set up an automated process to send emails and create follow-up tasks like you showed, what happens if the process is running, but the assigned team member is out of the office or leaves the company? Is there a way to automatically reassign or notify a manager? Good question. Yes, it can happen. I suppose the immediate thing I would think of is anyone that has set up the process, immediately change it as soon as possible. There may be some, so that if that person has left or is away for a long period of time, there may be piling up. There may be some outstanding calls piling up there in your GoldMine system. So, of course, in GoldMine, you can go back there and grab those and assign them to another user. A process won't change. So if your system has scheduled a call to user Fred, and then Fred has disappeared off the face of the earth, that call is still in GoldMine. An automated process will not change the name Fred to Mary. However, there's options in GoldMine for you, if you're an administrator, for you to go in and grab all of Fred's calls and assign them to new person Mary. All right, but yeah, check on your activity lists and the records affected, and get them swapped over to another person if there's going to be a bit of delay there. Another question from Grant. What stops a process triggering the same thing twice? So I want a process happening only on the first sale, not the next sales. Yeah, well, there's a few ways of doing this. You could use that history trigger on a sale. So you're going back and you're looking back through the system for some kind of previous activity. Secondly, you could, okay, so you get your first sale and you've got a process happening after that. You could have an event in that process that updates a field in the GoldMine database, a field that nobody sees, but you can see if you're the administrator. You can see, the automated process can see, well, that would be an example of a preemptive event. So if or maybe you're branching off to your first sale process would be a branched process. So there's a few ways to approach this. Just need to think it out. And look, contact us at Wizard Systems if you get stuck there or you want a little bit of coaching. Brian, I noticed you had GDPR on your record. Is that a standard feature of GoldMine? No, it isn't, Brian, but it can. You can set up some things in GoldMine to make your company a little bit more compliant with GDPR and the tracking of contact information there. So we do offer some advice, or there's a little training course we offer on that GDPR compliance, but no, not as standard. Question from Danielle. Can you create a trigger that won't send the follow-up email if it sees a new incoming email from the customer? Yes, again, that would be an example of a preemptive event. So it wouldn't trigger, basically, if something is still sat there in pending. I'm assuming the incoming email is in pending, or remember GoldMine is pending and history. Okay, so pending, the email comes in, initially it'd be in the pending tab as an incoming email. So you just need to think, Danielle, where is that email going to appear? Or someone's read it and fast filed it or filed it, and it's now in history. All right, so that's where that history trigger condition comes in to check on an email as the activity type, and then the number of days as well. Yeah, so you just need to think about it. But yes, in principle, that can be done, Danielle. Right, don't think there's any more questions coming in. I'll just double check. No, I don't think there is. Thanks very much, all of you, for those questions. Right, latest news then, as I wrap things up, late October. Latest release of GoldMine 2024.4. If you're on a maintenance contract, then you can get access to that and apply it to your system. Make sure you keep yourself up to date. If you don't have a maintenance contract, please contact Wizard Systems. We can give you a price for your GoldMine updates and upgrades. Do you fancy a CRM review? Has it been some time since we or someone has looked at what you're doing there with your GoldMine and look at the way you do things? We don't normally charge for this, certainly for our supported customers that pay us for support maintenance. We do offer this free of charge, but if you want us to arrange a call with one of our consultants to really dive deep into your GoldMine system and see what you're doing and come up with a plan, all right, going over the next 6 months, 12 months, what things should you be doing in GoldMine? What extra knowledge do you need, and processes and things and features and functions you want to take advantage of in GoldMine. Right, so if you're a GoldMine user, if you've got any suggestions for future topics, then drop us a line, tim@wizard-system.com. Be happy to consider those for future events. But our next one will be part 2 and part 3 of the automated process. Catch up with you on the next one. Thanks, those of you on here live, and there's a few of you. Thanks very much for sticking through it, and we will catch up very soon. Cheers. Bye.